It's midnight and you are tuning into Nightline with me, Sabrina Zainal. The top stories. MACC to charge former BNS official over LCS project. And Dato Sri Najib's bid to adduce new evidence is to delay SRC case, says prosecution. Good morning. We begin with this story. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, is expected to charge a former high-ranking officer of Bosted Naval Shipyard, BNS official, on Tuesday with criminal breach of trust in connection with the littoral combat ship LCS scandal. Sources with knowledge of the case confirmed that the individual will be brought to the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court at about 9 a.m. on Tuesday to face 3 charges under Section 58 of the MACC Act 2009. It had earlier been reported that anti-graft investigators were convinced that they had enough evidence to bring charges against several individuals involved in the multi-billion ringgit LCS project. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob had recently told the MACC to expedite investigations into the LCS case, and should there be solid proof, the Attorney General is to prosecute and bring those responsible to court. The Cabinet in its weekly meeting had also decided for 2 high-level investigative reports, including one by the Governance, Procurement and Finance Investigation Committee, to be made public. The other report is a forensic audit report on the project conducted in 2019, which will be declassified. On August 4th, the Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, PACC, said that some 1.4 billion ringgit in government allocation for the LCS project had been used for other purposes, including cost overruns. The 2-year probe by PACC also revealed that the 9 billion ringgit project was done through direct negotiations with BNS and was inked in 2014. Datuk Seri Muhammad Najib Razak's application to adduce new evidence in his SRC International Sendirian Berhad case is intended to delay the progress and conclusion of the case. Ad hoc prosecutor Datuk V. Sidambaram submitted that the application was filed to prolong the SRC proceedings for collateral purposes, as the cumulative evidence now sought to be adduced by the former Prime Minister was available to him at the trial and in any event was not relevant to the appeals before the federal court. Senior counsel Hisham Teh Potek's arguments were centered on the alleged conflict of interest involving trial judge Datuk Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali's, especially on his failure to disclose his previous role as Maybank Group General Counsel and Company Secretary between 2006 and 2015. Sidambaram added there was also no clarity to what the 5 witnesses, which Datuk Sri Najib intended to call to provide fresh evidence, would say or prove in relation to the myriad of issues raised by him in his application. On Datuk Sri Najib's claim that he received documents from anonymous sources which contained evidence related to his SRC case, Sidambaram said this was nothing more than hearsay based on hearsay. Chief Justice Tengku Maimun Tuan Mat adjourned the proceedings to 9:30 a.m. on Tuesday.
12 pasukan berentak demi menjulang Piala Idaman. Kami bawakan kepada anda perlawanan tumpuan Liga Super 2022. Hanya di TV 9 dan Astro 149.
The development of the Health White Paper comes at the right time to make the national health system more resilient in facing future challenges. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the White Paper should serve as a basis to improve and strengthen the existing health system to ensure that the country's healthcare sector remains resilient and flexible to face future challenges. According to Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri, after more than 2 years that the COVID-19 pandemic hit the world, a comprehensive plan needs to be drawn up to ensure that the well-being of keluarga Malaysia remains strong in the future.
Sistem kesihatan negara kita sama ada kerajaan maupun swasta, telah berfungsi dengan cemerlang sehingga sebahagian besar keluarga Malaysia menikmati tahap kesihatan yang baik, terutamanya ketika kes pandemik COVID-19 memuncak. Namun begitu, kita tidak seharusnya merasa selesa kerana pandemik COVID-19 bukanlah yang terakhir, kerana terdapat pelbagai cabaran baru bakal muncul. Seterusnya, akan menguji tahap keberkesanan dan ketahanan asas sistem kesihatan sedia ada.
Speaking when officiating the Health Policy Summit 2022, The Future of Our Healthcare, Health White Paper Development in Kuala Lumpur on Monday, the Prime Minister said the COVID-19 pandemic has presented serious health challenges for the coming years, including the issue of the aging population, which posed a major challenge to the country's health and social systems. He added Malaysia was expected to reach the aging nation status by 2030, when those aged 60 and above make up 15% of the population. This would then contribute to the increase in disease prevalence rates and demand for health care from the group, which was estimated to be 2 to 3 times higher than that of younger adults. In addition, he said mental health problems are also on the rise, with 2.3% of adults suffering from depression, while 7.9% of children aged between 5 and 15 face mental health issues, and the figure is expected to increase. In his speech, the Prime Minister also expressed his hopes for the nation in an effort to reshape the country's health system. In this regard, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri expressed hope that the national health system would support and help keluarga Malaysia to stay healthy and no longer focus on treatment and intervention after illness. He also hoped the national health system was able to meet the treatment needs of keluarga Malaysia in a sustainable and resilient manner in the face of challenges, including in a global pandemic situation. The Prime Minister said the government would continue to play its role to ensure that the country's healthcare sector remained resilient and flexible to face future challenges. At the same time, he said efforts to ensure the effectiveness of the national health system should not be the responsibility of the Ministry of Health alone, but also must involve all parties, including public and private sectors, as well as non-governmental organizations.
Saya percaya bahawa anda juga berkongsi harapan yang sama, dan transformasi sistem kesihatan negara perlu melibatkan pelbagai aspek, termasuk menerapkan pendekatan whole of government dan whole of society, iaitu kesihatan adalah tanggungjawab bersama.
Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri also called on keluarga Malaysia to cultivate a healthy lifestyle by staying active, nurturing a healthy mind, eating healthily, not smoking, and undergoing regular health screenings. Meanwhile, Health Minister Kari Jamaluddin, in his speech at the Health Policy Summit 2022, expressed hope that the government will consider increasing the allocation for public health to 5% of the country's gross domestic product, GDP, in the years to come.
Core business kita yang amat berhormat adalah nyawa, hidup dan mati, life and death. Yang amat berhormat, satu angka saja yang saya nak yang amat berhormat ingat pada hari ini. 5. Itu saja yang amat berhormat. Bukan 5 bilion, bukan 5 juta yang amat berhormat, tapi 5% daripada KDNK negara kita.
He said the benchmark for public health expenditure is 4 to 5% of the GDP, and Malaysia, as an upper-middle income nation, was currently at 2.59%. Khairi said it was time to look at long-term changes to the healthcare system, adding that the COVID-19 pandemic had revealed its weaknesses, including how it did not receive an investment that commensurated with the burden borne. Moving on, the number of bankrupt youths in the country has showed a downward trend over the past 3 years. Youth and Sports Deputy Minister Datuk Sri T. Lian Kerr said based on information from the Malaysian Department of Insolvency, there were 10,137 bankrupt youths in 2020 until June 2022. Sharing the breakdown and number of bankruptcy cases in youths from 2020 until June this year, Dato Sri T said this was mainly due to personal loans involving 1,486 people, or 47% of the 3,165 total cases, followed by 249 cases due to car installments and 654 cases involving business loans.
Dan 284 kes disebabkan oleh pinjaman perumahan, 140 kes disebabkan oleh hutang kad kredit, 84 kes disebabkan penjamin korporat, 83 kes disebabkan hutang cukai pendapatan, 65 kes disebabkan kegagalan membayar carunan KTBSP, 7 kes disebabkan beasiswa pinjaman kerajaan dan 113 kes disebabkan oleh keberhutangan yang lain.
Dato Sri T said this during a question and answer session in the Dewan Negara on Monday to a question from Senator Aziz Arifin on the number of youths declared bankrupt in 2020 until now and the main reasons for it. Therefore, Dato Sri T said the government has taken several steps to bring down the rate of youth bankruptcy through the individual's own awareness of the risk or impact of the bankruptcy order, through the educational and prudence learning approach. To help bring down the rate of bankruptcy, he said the Malaysian Department of Insolvency will continue to implement several programs with the community, such as the Malaysian Department of Insolvency Prihatin program, to create awareness about bankruptcy issues. On the unemployment rate of youths, Dato Sri T said the rate involving youths aged 15 to 30 showed a decrease of 0.3% for the period of up to last May, with the number of unemployed youths down by 25,500 from 501,200 in April 2022 to 475,700 in May. He added that based on the labor force data from the Department of Statistics, the unemployment rate of youths aged 15 to 30 in 2021 was 8.5%, involving 533,800 individuals. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah and Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria have left for Turkey on Monday for a 7-day state visit. The special aircraft carrying their majesties took off from the Bunga Raya Complex, Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA, at about 10 a.m. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob and his wife, Datin Sri Muhaini Zainal Abidin, were present to send off their majesties. Controller of the Royal Household for Istana Negara, Datuk Sri Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin, in a statement said the state visit by their majesties was at the invitation of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The state visit to Turkey was scheduled for last year, but it was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. While in Turkey, Al-Sultan Abdullah is scheduled to meet with Erdogan at the presidential palace in Ankara. Another Palestinian killed in an Israeli attack. This and more after this breather. Don't go away. Front. Israeli forces have once again killed a Palestinian during a military raid on the Kufr Aqab neighborhood of occupied East Jerusalem. According to a Palestinian news agency, 21-year-old Muhammad Ibrahim Sham was shot in the head from point-blank range by the army at his home on Monday. Witnesses said Israeli forces have forbade anyone from coming close to Ibrahim Sham apartment's door while raiding his house at dawn, but the martyr was seen lying on the ground before he was announced dead shortly after. The Palestinian Authority's Foreign Ministry has condemned the criminal execution and consider it tactics of an organized terrorist mafia. Meanwhile, on Sunday, at least 3 Syrian soldiers have also been killed in multiple Israeli missile attacks in Syria, while 3 others were wounded. It was understood that the air raids, which took place at 8:50 p.m. local time, targeted an air defense base in Khartoum province, where Iranian-backed groups are active. Over in Australia, revelations that the country's ex-prime minister secretly appointed himself to several ministerial posts during the pandemic has sparked a political firestorm on Monday, with his successor promising a rapid investigation. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on Monday accused Scott Morrison of tin pot activity after it emerged that the former leader had made himself Minister of Health, Finance and Resources, among other positions, without informing colleagues, Parliament or voters. Describing Morrison's actions as extraordinary and unprecedented, Albanese said he had sought legal advice from the Solicitor General and would be briefed later on Monday. The scandal has shown a light on the opaque nature of decision-making inside Australia's government and raised questions about whether more stringent democratic safeguards are now needed. It is still not clear how many posts in total Morrison held, but local media reported that he took on the resources portfolio and used his power to axe a significant gas project off Sydney's coast. China on Monday said it had organized fresh military drills around Taiwan as a delegation of visiting United States lawmakers were set to meet the island's leader just 2 weeks after a similar trip by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi heightened fears of conflict. The unannounced 2-day trip came after Beijing sent warships, missiles and jets into the waters and skies around Taiwan, where the 5-member congressional delegation led by Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts was due to hold a meeting with President Tsai Ing-wen on Monday, followed by a banquet at the Foreign Ministry. According to Washington's de facto embassy in Taipei, their visit will focus on trade, regional security and climate change. The bipartisan trip, however, sparked a caustic response from Beijing, which said it had Monday carried out combat readiness patrol and combat drills in the sea and airspace around Taiwan Island. We're back with sports football. Champions Bayern Munich made it 2 Bundesliga wins from 2 matches when they comfortably beat visitors Wolfsburg 2-0 on Sunday with goals from Jamal Musiala and Thomas Müller. The Bavarians, who have now scored 8 goals in their first 2 league matches, were lethal in attack, especially in the first half, with Sadio Mane, Müller and Musiala wreaking havoc in their opponent's box. Mane also put the ball in the net twice more, but his efforts were cancelled by VAR reviews for offside. During the match, Benjamin Pavard struck the crossbar and Mane's goal was ruled out before Musiala finally made Bayern's dominance pay in the 33rd minute. The 19-year-old Germany forward eluded 2 defenders before steadying himself to dispatch the ball inside the left post. Müller made it 2-0 in the 43rd when he deflected Joshua Kimmich's effort past the helpless Koen Casteels in the Wolfsburg goal. With the win, Bayern are now at top of the standings on 6 points, ahead on goal difference of Borussia Dortmund, who have also won their 2 league matches so far. On to tennis. Pablo Carreño Busta rallied from a set down to defeat Hubert Hurkacz 3-6, 6-3, 6-3 in Montreal to claim the biggest title of his career at the Canadian Masters on Sunday. The unseeded Spaniard jumped for joy when he broke the 8th-seeded pole to seal the win, hitting peak form that will lift his world ranking to 14 from 23, with the U.S. Open set to start on August 29th. It was no easy route to the title for Carreño Busta, who also notched wins over current world number 14 Matteo Berrettini and 12th-ranked Jannik Sinner in Montreal. Hurkacz came out sharp, earning the first service break of the match and maintaining the lead to take the first set. But Carreño Busta bounced back to take a 3-0 lead in the second that he would not relinquish to set up the winner-take-all third. The key moment of the decider came when Carreño Busta broke for a 2-1 lead after a Hurkacz drop shot failed to clear the net. The point of the match came in the 6th game of the 3rd set when Carreño Busta raced to track down a deep lob and hit a desperation shot over his head to extend the point, which he ultimately won with a leaping backhanded volley at the net. Coming up after the break, over 1.8 million ringgit worth of contraband products seized. Stay tuned. The world-renowned university Stanford University study has ranked Malaysia as the 3rd laziest country based on a study of 717,527 people, giving them a glimpse into the lives of people in 111 countries across the globe. In the study, Stanford University researchers concluded that there is an inequality in physical activity, indicating that it is a predictor to obesity prevalence. From these results, Malaysia has been dubbed to have the 3rd country with laziest citizens in terms of walking. The main benchmark of these activities, according to the study, was the average number of people walking every day. The research also found that in countries with fewer cases of obesity, the population walked a similar amount of steps daily. Meanwhile, countries with high activity and inequality, in which there is a large gap between the active and inactive population, have the higher number of obesity cases. The Central Zone Customs Department has crippled attempts to smuggle in tobacco products, contraband alcohol and Zamzam water worth more than 1.8 million ringgit through Op Contraband 1 and 2 from May to July this year. Central Zone Customs Assistant Director Muhammad Sabri Saad said among the offences include attempts to avoid tax, store and sell smuggled cigarettes and alcohol, including an attempt to smuggle in 4 containers of contraband alcohol. He said 4 containers were seized in Port Klang on May 25th, June 8th and June 21st. Meanwhile, Op Contraband 2 was carried out from July 18th to 27th throughout the Klang Valley via an integrated operation by the Federal Territories, Selangor and Kuala Lumpur International Airport branches. The seized containers contained contraband alcohol worth 902,000 ringgit, various brands of tobacco, namely Lambo, Zarda and Shimla Pan Masala, worth 58,640 ringgit, and Zamzam water worth 180,380 ringgit.
Tapi kalau saya sebut chewing tobacco ni banyak yang boleh fokus di mana Bangladesh ke apa-apa gitulah. Lebih kurang macam itulah ya. Pemeriksaan fizikal mendapati dalamnya adalah chewing tobacco tabaka kunyah berjenama Premium Zarda dan Shimla Pan Masala berdasarkan label pembungkusan.
Muhammad Sabri said all the products in the containers seized by the customs were actually goods that have been banned from being imported into the country. He said these goods were falsely declared as other products to fool the authorities. 18 individuals aged between 20 and 40 have been detained for their involvement in various offences. Authorities have opened investigations on 30 cases which are being investigated under the Customs Act. In Kedah, 2 company owners were fined a total of 150,000 ringgit after pleading guilty at the Alor Star Sessions Court to charges of using forged documents to qualify them for public cleaning tenders in 2019. Judge Harmit Tamri Muhammad meted out the fine on 68-year-old Muhammad Rumzan Othman and 39-year-old Anwar Abdul Aziz. Muhammad Rumzan, who faced 2 charges, was fined 50,000 ringgit on each count and default 6 months jail, while Anwar, with only 1 charge, was fined 50,000 ringgit and default 6 months jail. Muhammad Ruzman was charged with dishonestly using a forged document, which were Maybank Islamic account statements of MRR Enterprise for the months of October to December 2018, as genuine in the tender application for the privatization of solid waste collection and public cleaning management for the northern region. The offence was committed between January 16th to January 22nd, 2019. On the second count, he was charged with dishonestly using a forged document of the Maybank Islamic account statements of Hana Niaga Enterprise for the months of October to December 2018, which he knew was false as genuine in the same tender application. As for Anwar, he was charged with committing a similar offence using a forged CIMB bank account statement for the months of October to December 2018 of LJ Maju, Sindhir and Berhad as genuine when applying for the same tender. They were charged under Section 471 of the Penal Code, which is punishable under Section 465 of the same law, which provides for imprisonment for up to 2 years or a fine or both if found guilty. Fans of the sci-fi hit Stranger Things in Tokyo can now chow down on demonic pastas and rock out to retro 1980s tunes at a pop-up cafe inspired by the Netflix horror drama. The interior has replicas of shops and sets from the show, set in the fictional U.S. town of Hawkins, Indiana, along with its dark mirror underworld. Let's take a look at the themed restaurant as we wrap up Nightline this time around. With that, I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for watching and stay safe.